Got some new fan art for you guys. So I stumbled across an interesting little corner of the internet that I surprisingly hadn't ever visited before. I came across a bunch of Kingdom Hall crash videos. If you guys don't know what that is, it's basically where ex-Jehovah's Witnesses show up at a Kingdom Hall, interrupt the meeting, and start talking about all the messed up stuff the Watchtower Society is doing. Basically everything I talk about on my channel, except they're doing it right in the middle of the service. It's long past time for me to talk about this. So let's get into it.
Friends I haven't spoke to in years, to the parents that shun me because I'm no longer one of you, to the governing body that's covering up child sex abuse.
We're asking you.
This goes out to you.
I just love their reaction here. Listen to this.
Thank you, brother.
As a quick side note, this dude is awesome. That is some serious shit he did just now. The gasp was because nobody drinks the wine or eats the unleavened bread. This was at a memorial, and it's basically like Jehovah's Witness communion. I've done a video on the memorial before. I talked about what it was, what happens there, how many people attended, all that stuff. Check out the card in the corner to watch it. But the only people who drink the wine and eat the bread are one of the 144,000 anointed Jehovah's Witnesses who are going to heaven. Some people have never seen somebody drink the wine and eat the bread. I have. When I was little, I went to a congregation with a guy who partook of the sacred emblems for the very first time in his life, basically claiming himself to be anointed. And here we have this apostate, this mentally diseased person, just drinking the wine all willy-nilly. That's why they reacted the way they did. Now, I'm just gonna come out and say that I don't really think this is a productive way of protesting them. Don't get me wrong, I know it has to feel good. I couldn't possibly do it myself. I just don't have the personality for it. You guys know I've been wounded by the Watchtower Society as much as the next guy. So it isn't about not having been affected by them enough to care to this extent. It's just that I have a very mild, patient, methodical personality that wouldn't let me do something like that. I don't fault anybody else for doing it. Like I said, it must feel so good to get your point across like this. Here's the rule when raiding a Kingdom Hall like this. The elders aren't allowed to touch you. It's a public forum, and the elders have extended an open welcome to anybody who wants to come, but they can revoke that invitation anytime they want. And if they do revoke the invitation, you're legally required to leave, or you could be arrested for trespassing. So the trick is to start walking toward the door as soon as they tell you that your invitation's been revoked.
Now, I invite all of you not to take my word for it. Please go to jwfacts.com.
We ask you please to leave, sir.
Parents, please stop shunning your children.
Sir, we're asking you to leave. Your invitation has been revoked, and you don't know anything about this. We ask you to leave.
I was a Jehovah's Witness the first 20 years of my life.
Then we're asking you to leave.
Please do not touch me, sir.
Please.
Your elder's letter says not to touch me.
Please leave.
Please give me an avenue to do so.
You can go right that way.
Sure.
See what happened there? The guy said, "Don't touch me." The elder's letter says not to touch me. And then he asked for an avenue to get out. Usually at this point, the protesters take the opportunity to say jwfacts.com and shunning and child sex abuse a few more times on their way out the door. But like I said, at this point, it's completely lost on everybody there.
Now, if you Google the Australian Royal Commission,
If you want an audience, get your own Kingdom Hall.
that there was
Let him out.
over 2,000 pedophiles found that because of the two witness rule, Jehovah's Witnesses are not reporting to the authorities. It's not. You said pedophilia is okay. Please do your research, young people. I was sitting where you sit today. I got out.
And usually the protesters go in groups. So the first person will be escorted out, and by the time they reach the outside, another stands up and starts talking. That method basically increases the amount of exposure to the ideas, because the Watchtower Society wants to shield people from this kind of thing. They're told not to research anything like this on the internet, steer well clear of anything Jehovah's Witness related, unless it's on their official website. So this is probably the first time any of these people are hearing anything about child sex abuse, or the Royal Commission, or anything. As a result, the guy just comes off as some crazed lunatic talking nonsense, even though he's saying exactly what these people need to hear, the things that they'll probably never hear outside of this. But now that information is tainted since it's coming straight from an apostate's mouth. It might as well have been spoken by Satan himself. The protesters basically only have a few seconds after standing up, and then the time it takes to get from their seat to the front door, because they don't want to break any laws. A lot of the time, they'll pick a seat that's really inconvenient to get out of, like this guy did, to give themselves more time to talk, and commonly protesters will go in groups of 3 or 4. This is from the same video as before, only a minute or 2 after the guy walked out the door.
Women and children. I was molested as a child by 2 men in the congregation.
Is this a prank?
The elders did not call the police on these men.
There is a way out.
Please leave.
The world is not evil.
They didn't ask the men.
Please leave. If you want an audience, invite them to your spot. Let's go.
These men did not.
You can go ahead and go. Please
We're not
leave.
called on the men that
Where there's
molested
police
me.
outside,
The
speak to
elders
them.
asked me,
leave.
what was I wearing as a child? What did I do
Please,
to
your
provoke
invitation's been
these
adopted.
men
Please just
to
leave.
molest me?
Please just leave.
The elders do not call the police for pedophilia. Please do your research.
We hear you. We hear you.
This is a cult. I'm sorry, you guys. Are being
Get out while you
misled.
can. You guys have a good night. You, sir.
Please seek the truth.
Have a great night. You guys be safe.
They f***ing deserve it. But I really don't think this is a productive way to protest. When I was little, my mother told me about a guy who came and crashed an assembly when she was there. Stood up in the middle of it and started saying all this stuff. She described him as a lunatic who was completely mentally unstable, and I believed it. Anybody with the stomach to go in and do something like this appears to be crazy from the other side. Not to mention, the Watchtower Society is standing there telling the members that they're mentally diseased, they're insane, they're unhinged, apostates are all alike. When they leave Jehovah's organization, they lose all sense of connection to reality. They do crazy things like this. And when they do, Jehovah's Witnesses are told to do things like this, which is exactly what my mother did when she encountered her first protester. She told me she shut off her brain. She stopped listening. She completely detached from what was happening, so Satan couldn't get from the apostate's diseased mind to hers. The elders surrounded the protester in a circle, locked arms, and walked out with him in the middle. As far as I know, they don't do that anymore. Now they just call the police and let them handle it. But that image of a crazed madman screaming incoherently at a group of innocent Jehovah's Witnesses stuck with me. And that's really the crux of my argument against it. Look at this next clip. I'll set the scene. The video starts out with a guy coming out of the bathroom during a prayer. He stands there quietly while the prayer ends, and he walks to an attendant in the back and says he's looking for his coworker who invited him to the Kingdom Hall. He says she has a purple shirt on. Then he notices some commotion at the front and asks what's going on. The commotion is from the Jehovah's Witnesses realizing that the speaker just so happened to be a protester, talking about child sexual abuse being mishandled, shunning, and all the other stuff. That's actually really hard to do. You have to jump through hoops to find yourself on the stage at a Kingdom Hall, ready to give a talk. When I was going, the congregations would get visiting elders from nearby congregations to give talks. And there's a coordinator who contacts other congregations to get somebody to come. So either the coordinator messed up and didn't realize an elder had been disfellowshipped, or he was in on it in some way or something. It's happened once or twice. So anyways, that's what happened here. The guy walks up and starts talking about things that Jehovah's Witnesses are trained not to listen to. Check out what happens next.
Answer the question,
She has
what
a
is
purple?
religion's future?
She has a purple shirt on, she told me, my friend. Short hair. Veronica.
In your Bible to Deuteronomy 22, verses 25 and 26. We have
I work with her.
It's concerning the...
What's that?
It's concerning the religious rule that Jehovah's Witnesses and the governing body use.
What's that? What's happening? What's happening?
He's trying to interrupt the meeting.
Now check out how this chick acts about this crazy out-of-the-ordinary event.
What's happening?
He's apostate or not in his right mind. It's okay. This happens. Would you like to have a seat?
Well, I came to visit somebody. Veronica invited me. She said she had a purple shirt.
Sometimes it happens. And we just have to hold it together.
Notice what she said. He's an apostate or not in his right mind. as though the two things are synonymous. And really, you can't blame her for thinking that, after being trained by the Watchtower Society to think that way, and then seeing apostates act in a way that's so completely outside their comfort zone. It doesn't surprise me at all that people believe the Watchtower Society when they say we're mentally diseased. And by the way, for those of you who haven't seen my channel before, I consider myself an apostate. I love the word. I wear it as a badge of honor. The word comes from a Greek word meaning runaway slave, which I feel is apt. Anyways, take a closer listen to what she says to the guy in the back.
Sometimes it happens, and we just have to hold it together.
Sometimes it happens, and we just have to hold it together. Like she's about to have a mental breakdown, and she's trying to prevent herself from completely melting down. Look at her body language. Listen to the tremble in her voice. She's terrified by the fact that she's in the presence of an apostate. This is the fear that's instilled in them by the Watchtower Society. They feel this way about a great many things, not just apostates, but non-witnesses in general to some extent. They're taught that non-witnesses are dirty, disgusting, sick, evil people who are only out for money or drugs or whatever they can get for themselves. They have no morals whatsoever. Let's fast forward a little bit. The guy holding the camera outs himself and reveals that he's currently one of Jehovah's Witnesses, but he's gone apostate after realizing how corrupt it was. And by the way, did you notice what I said there? He's one of Jehovah's Witnesses, not he's a Jehovah's Witness. That's part of the language the insiders are taught to use. You are one of God's witnesses. You aren't a part of the religion of Jehovah's Witnesses. I said that out of habit, so I decided to leave it in. It's all part of the mindset. As I was saying, he reveals he's a Jehovah's Witness. Let's take a look at what happens next.
Witnesses in the Royal Australian Commission. You have pedophiles in your midst. They're raping your women and your children. And the government...
Jesus would listen to people. Jesus would listen to people who were molested. Everybody here has a member of their family that's just...
Boom. Look at that right there. See how she's acting? Cover her eyes and her ears and completely shut down. I'm surprised the rest of them are looking around. This is how they're taught to act. Completely shut off the outside world so their minds aren't tainted by the filth coming out of these people's mouths. This is what my mother feels when she's in my presence. This is what she wants to do. This is why she won't talk to me. Now there are a couple more parts I noticed that I really wanted to bring attention to. Check this out.
Everybody here has a member of their family that's disfellowship. You guys destroy families. I've been in this religion since 1970. I'm a Jehovah's Witness elder, and all my family won't talk to me because I reported the pedophiles to the police. God bless you. Stand up. In America, we need to stand up.
It's that line right there that makes me doubt that the guy was ever a Jehovah's Witness, let alone the idea that he is currently. Because any real Jehovah's Witness would know not to say the words, God bless. That's a worldly saying, and you will get counseled by the elders for saying it. I only ever said it ironically in my entire life, and this guy purports to be an elder. I don't know. Maybe he used to be an elder a long time ago, and he joined another religion afterward that uses the phrase a lot. That happens sometimes. But he also said, "This is America." That's another phrase that would automatically shut Jehovah's Witnesses off completely. He ruined what they were all trying to do by saying those two lines. He automatically lost any credibility among the congregation that he might have had left when those words came out of his mouth. Let's finish watching.
These men cannot hold our families hostage.
Please, come outside and talk to us, please.
No, you're lying. Everything is done behind closed doors. Lay the matter bare before the congregation. Good. Why don't you call the cops on the pedophiles?
Shut the door. Shut the door. Okay, we're gonna call.
I love you.
Hey, do you have the phone? Do you have your phone?
Why don't you call the cops on the pedophiles?
We're gonna call the cops.
Good. We'll tell the cops that you guys are hiding pedophile reports. Yes, you are. I'm an elder of Jehovah's Witnesses, and I called.
You are doing this?
Yes, because I called because there was pedophiles in my congregation, and you guys did not report them to the police.
Well, we're gonna call the cops on it because
Good. Call the police.
If there's a matter,
You're lying through your teeth. They're in the elder room, and you know it.
Okay, here's another thing that bothered me. There's no quote-unquote elder's room. At least not in any Kingdom Hall I've been to. There's a library, which is where all the judicial meetings and other elder business takes place. Usually there's a big table in there for discussions and stuff. I've never in my life heard it called an elder room. I don't know where they'd keep the files like the publisher's cards and the disfellowshipping records and stuff. I've been all through my old Kingdom Hall. There wasn't a locked room I haven't entered. I've been everywhere from the attic to the crawl space in that thing. I practically lived there in my teen years. If they didn't keep those records in the library, I don't know where they kept them. Maybe the presiding overseer's house, who knows? I'm just saying, I don't think this guy was ever an elder. That being said, there are instances where elders called the police in a child sex abuse case, and they were deleted for it. That's what it's called when an elder is removed from, elderhood. They just become normal members of the congregation after that. One case of that happening was in Ireland recently. It was all over the news. Anyways, let's finish this clip.
You know it. And you're dividing families. In my congregation, okay, I'm leaving, but in my congregation, please, I'm leaving. In my congregation, you disfellowshipped a 16-year-old girl as you ruined her life. They're going to disfellowship your children. They're going to disfellowship your children. Your children are going to be disfellowshipped.
Here's the bottom line. I respect these people so much for having the stomach to do this, to enter into the belly of the beast like this and stand up publicly to speak their minds to people who won't hear it otherwise. That's got to be hard. Seriously, I couldn't do it. And I imagine it feels great, but I feel like they aren't doing us any favors by doing this. You guys saw the people's reactions. You heard the shaking in their voice. You saw them covering their ears and eyes and hiding. They're convinced we're sick, depraved, mentally diseased people who need psychiatric help to get the demons out. And I feel like when we do things like this, it reinforces that stigma. The kids in that Kingdom Hall don't understand what's being said. All they know is that there's a scary person yelling at them, and their parents are afraid they might hurt them or something. Then, in the car ride home, the parents tell the kids all about how messed up these people are. I feel like it's reinforcing all the beliefs of everybody in that Kingdom Hall. It feels great, but ultimately it's destructive to the cause. Don't let me stop you. I understand better than anybody why you're doing this, but I think there are much more productive forms of activism and protest. Don't play into their narrative. Don't let them be right. I proved them wrong by making myself a success, despite their belief that I'm a failure by default for being outside of the religion. When people from my old Kingdom Hall encounter me now, they expect to hear that I'm a broke, homeless drug addict. Prove them wrong. Make something of yourself. Go to college. Get a good job. Your success is their failure. That is how we win. Make a success out of ourselves, and when you finally manage to usurp the conditioning they imposed on us, you can help others find their way out too. Start ex-cult member support groups in your area that'll help provide support for shunning victims, or child abuse victims, or people who lost family members to the Watchtower Society's blood policies. That's my plan when I get big enough on YouTube. If I make enough money from YouTube, I'm hoping to start a charity that will help people exiting cults find job training and housing. I know too many teenagers who are hiding the fact that they don't believe it anymore because they know that the second their families find out, they'll get kicked out on the street like a dog. I've heard way too many stories like that. Anyways, like I said, I don't hold it against anybody for going into Kingdom Halls and doing this. I totally understand where you're coming from. And if that's what you need to do to make yourself feel better about what they did to us, then do it. I just don't think it's a productive way to win the battle. I think it backfires more than it helps. Anyways, that's all I've got for you. Join my Discord. I do a podcast every Sunday night. If you send me a message on there, I can add you to the list, and I'll get you on the podcast to talk to me. And check out Patreon and my science channel. All links are in the description, as always. Thanks for watching, guys.